For 10 straight years, the company refused to give me a raise. This year, every employee got a salary increase except me. Furious, I shoved open the boss's office door and demanded to know why I'd never gotten a raise all these years. The boss didn't even bother looking up. A purchasing manager position? People would pay out of pocket just to get that job. How dare you ask for a raise? The moment I heard that, I slapped my resignation letter onto his desk. Whoever wants the job can have it. I turned and walked out. Before I even made it back to my desk, I saw Jang Chang from administration brush past me and sneak into the boss's office. An hour later, HR blasted out a company-wide email. To prevent operational risks, no purchasing manager may serve longer than 5 years. Effective immediately, Shiwan from purchasing and Jang Chang from administration will swap positions. Right then, Jang Chang came over to me. Shiwan, the boss said we should do the handover. Let me know when you're free. Truth was, I'd already heard the rumors. This guy had privately gone to the boss several times, bragging that he'd gladly work for base salary alone and could do my job even better than I could. It was obvious he planned to make money through kickbacks, but the boss didn't care. In his eyes, nobody sitting in that position was clean anyway. Jang Chang not taking a salary would even save the company money. Snapping back to reality, I waved at him. There's a lot going on in purchasing. I need to organize things first so nothing goes wrong during the transition. Before I could finish, he cut me off. Jiwan, you're not reluctant to leave, are you? Buying stuff with company money? What could possibly go wrong with that? Then he threw me a mocking look. Since you put it that way, let's do it right now. So I walked him through the current procurement process and the company's core suppliers. But Jang Chang barely listened. Everything went in one ear and out the other. To avoid getting blamed later if something blew up, I pulled out a handover checklist from my drawer and handed it to him. If you think everything looks fine, sign here. I'll pack my stuff and move to administration immediately. Jang Chang's eyes lit up. He barely skimmed the paper before signing it and heading back to pack his things. As for me, I casually cleaned out my desk, carried my cardboard box over to administration, and officially transferred departments. A few days after I arrived in administration, the product manager stormed in complaining nonstop. Ever since Jang Chang became purchasing manager, he's been acting like king of the world. He replaced all the suppliers for our flagship products. Honestly, I'd already heard about it. Just days earlier, the old suppliers had come crying to me, saying Jang Chang demanded they cut prices by 20% and then kick back another 10% under the table, or he'd cancel all their orders. Their CEO was practically in tears. All I could do was shrug helplessly as Jang Chang cut them off and replaced them with a bunch of shady workshop suppliers. To be fair, the prices really had dropped, so I tried comforting the product manager. Well, lower costs mean stronger market competitiveness. Maybe that's not entirely a bad thing. The product manager gave a bitter laugh, but the quality of this garbage is terrible. I reported it to the boss, and he actually said it's fine as long as it barely works, because we saved 10%. With a sigh, he walked out of my office. Watching his back disappear, I secretly felt lucky I'd escaped the mess. But before I could even relax, Fei Fei from the front desk rushed over. Shiwan, word is spreading in purchasing that Jang Chang wants to switch the property management company back to the old one. Hearing that almost made me spit blood. Back then, Jang Chang had somehow dug up the most ridiculous property management company imaginable. Within 6 months, there were scandals everywhere. Security guards beating customers, thefts, complete chaos. The boss had exploded with rage after finding out and handed full authority to purchasing. That was when I carefully selected one of the top property management firms in the industry. The worst part? Purchasing chose the property company, but administration had to manage them afterward. If Jang Chang brought those disasters back and something happened, my department would be the one cleaning up the mess. I shot to my feet, ready to argue with Jang Chang. But then I remembered the product manager's miserable expression from earlier. So instead, I turned to Fei Fei. We'll strictly enforce the evaluation standards, keep a close eye on them, and if anything weird happens, report it to me immediately. Not long after that, old Lee from logistics came complaining too. The shipping bags had been replaced. Then Zhang Jing from HR started venting. Headhunting agencies and labor contractors had all been swapped out as well. At this point, Jang Chang was basically a walking disaster. In just a few weeks, he'd replaced almost everything in the company. At this rate, the next thing he'd replace would probably be the boss himself. Then month-end meeting day arrived. Jang Chang stole the spotlight completely. The boss publicly praised him and addressed all the executives. Everyone should learn from Jang Chang. He just joined purchasing and already reshuffled all the suppliers. This year alone, he'll save the company at least 5 million yuan. The second he finished speaking, thunderous applause filled the room. Jang Chang immediately followed with a smug little acceptance speech, throwing shade at the company veterans the entire time. He implied they were dead weight who only cared about lining their own pockets and sucking the company dry. While talking, his eyes deliberately drifted toward me. Then I overheard Zhang Jing whispering to Lao Li beside her. Lao Li quickly signaled for her to stop because I was nearby, and Zhang Jing instantly went silent. All I could do was pretend not to hear anything. After all, I was the former purchasing manager. Eventually, the meeting ended with Jang Chang still bragging about himself, while the boss, because the company had saved money, the boss was in an amazing mood. With a big wave of his hand, he treated everyone to a company dinner. At the banquet, glasses clinked non-stop and the atmosphere was wild. Naturally, all eyes were on Jang Chang. A few drinks later, the boss staggered over to me, reeking of alcohol. Just hearing his tone made my stomach turn. Boss, let's skip the games. If you've got something to say, just say it. Well, Xin Yuan, don't blame me for being blunt. I haven't given you a raise in 7 years, yet you still refuse to leave. You clearly don't care about that tiny salary, right? The moment I heard that, I exploded. For 10 years, I worked my ass off for this company. I never took a single dirty cent that I didn't earn. Do you really think I'm an idiot? Zhang Chang shows up for 1 month and suddenly saves 5 million yuan. So where did that 5 million go last year? Did the dogs eat it? After saying that, the boss heavily patted my shoulder twice, let out 2 cold laughs, and turned to leave. I almost cursed him out on the spot, but swallowed the words back down. There was no point arguing anymore. In the boss's eyes, the only thing that mattered was the 5 million saved. Anything I said would just sound like an excuse from someone upset over not getting a bigger cut. So I left with a dark expression and went straight home. The second I walked out, I knew the gossip behind my back would only get worse. By the way, the nickname half billion yuan was a rumor Jang Chang spread about me. He claimed I'd been pocketing 5 to 6 million yuan in kickbacks every year, and after 10 years, I'd supposedly made half a small fortune. More than 3 months later, one day the product manager stormed into my office, furious. Jang Chang is way too damn greedy. The guy straight up demanded a house from a supplier. That instantly triggered my curiosity, so I told him to keep talking. Turns out Jang Chang had squeezed the supplier boss so hard that the guy decided to play dirty too. He actually bought an apartment under Jang Chang's name in the city, but he only paid a 200,000 yuan down payment and saddled Jang Chang with an 800,000 yuan mortgage. The monthly payment was over 20,000 yuan. As long as business continued, the supplier would keep paying the mortgage for him. But if Jang Chang ever cut them off, he'd be stuck paying the loan himself until he went bankrupt. Hearing that left me stunned. These people were ruthless. The mortgage had basically tied Jang Chang and the supplier together for life. Sure enough, nothing creates a life and death alliance faster than throwing huge amounts of money around. But now the product manager was stuck roasting over the fire. He'd recently visited the factory and discovered the new supplier was basically a clown operation. Their quality control system was a complete joke, and the workers were a disaster. Some were openly smoking beside the machines. Worst of all, if the product quality ever exploded into a scandal, the first person sacrificed would definitely be the product manager. I could clearly see the stress on his face whenever he talked about the new suppliers. Whereas this time, I couldn't laugh at all either. Who knew when this fire would spread to me? This supplier gave Jang Chang a house. The next one might give him a car. The one after that might straight up send women. Compared to my so-called half-billion yuan reputation, Jang Chang clearly understood how to truly enjoy life. At first, I thought the product manager would be the first one dragged down, but unexpectedly, the first victim turned out to be the HR manager instead. Early one morning, the marketing director stormed in with a dark face and summoned Zhang Qiang, Zhang Jing, and several of us managers into the boss's office. Turns out a European client had suddenly arrived at the factory for an on-site audit. The labor dispatch company Jang Chang hired had secretly colluded with the principal of some shady vocational school, tricking students into working at the factory as cheap labor under the excuse of internships. The craziest part? The students actually had to pay a 200 yuan internship fee themselves. During the inspection, the client happened to run into these students. Shen Jiyuan immediately suspected illegal child labor practices. He randomly questioned several workers and discovered some vocational students were under 16 years old. Even worse, they weren't getting paid at all. The moment Shen Jiwan found out, he exploded with rage. That very night, an email slammed in from Europe announcing a complete suspension of cooperation and demanding an explanation from the sales director. Using underage unpaid labor had crossed a massive red line in international trade. Officially, it was called a temporary suspension, but in reality, it was practically a blacklist. Before leaving, Shen Jiyuan even threatened to report everything to the local government and spread the report throughout the European industry. The sales director was shaking with anger. This client was one of our biggest accounts, responsible for over 30% of the company's overseas orders. With a dark face, he roared at Jang Chang and Jang Jing, "My flight to Europe leaves tomorrow morning, and I'll be over there groveling for forgiveness like a damn grandson. Now explain to me what the hell happened here." Jang Chang instantly tried distancing himself from the mess. "Director Wu, employee qualifications and payroll are HR responsibilities. How would I know about this?" The moment Zhang Jing heard that, she froze in disbelief. "Jang Chang? That's not fair. We've been paying the labor dispatch fees every month. I reminded you multiple times to verify the interns' identities. Weren't you supposed to follow up on that?" Zhang Jing, verifying employee identities is HR's responsibility. If you failed to check properly, that's black and white evidence against you. Zhang Jing was just about to argue back when the boss coldly interrupted. "Enough. Figure out how to stabilize the client relationship first." The sales director piled on immediately. "Come up with a solution now. Otherwise, all losses will come out of your pockets." After arguing for hours, they finally pieced together a response plan. First, blamed the third-party labor dispatch company and claimed they secretly pocketed the students' wages. Second, explained that this was an isolated incident that happened during a transition period while HR was still verifying intern identities. After that, the sales director cursed non-stop while packing documents, preparing to fly to Europe and beg for forgiveness. Then the boss turned toward Zhang Jing and stared at her coldly. "Whether you can keep your HR manager position depends entirely on whether this client stays. If we lose them, pack your things and get out." With that, he waved everyone away. Zhang Jing looked like a defeated rooster now, completely stripped of the arrogance she'd shown during meetings. As people started leaving, as soon as everyone left, Zhang Jing grabbed me and started crying her eyes out. I couldn't really be bothered with her, so I gave a couple half-hearted words of comfort before heading back to administration. The product manager followed me into my office, looking miserable. "I'm seriously worried the product quality is gonna blow up. I'm even thinking about quitting before disaster hits." Half joking, I cut him off. "Relax, the next lightning strike might not hit you." The second those words left my mouth, an angry roar exploded from the boss's office. Outside instantly went dead silent. The product manager bolted out to watch the drama unfold. A moment later, old Lee from logistics stumbled out looking defeated. Old Lee was slick, sure, but he was reliable at work and we actually got along pretty well. I was just about to ask Fei Fei at the front desk to investigate when she stormed in herself. The moment she entered, she locked the office door behind her and immediately started cursing Zhang Chang nonstop. I figured it was probably about shipping costs or warehouse issues. I already told Jang Chang to secure the shipping containers ASAP. I even gave him the lowest possible rates, but he insisted on comparing prices elsewhere. Meanwhile, the Houthis and the Red Sea crisis had already blown up. Of course, sea freight prices were skyrocketing. I casually poured her a glass of water. "Calm down, as long as we got containers booked, paying a little more is fine." But old Lee slammed the table hard. That's exactly the problem. After all his messing around, the rates he found were more than double mine. Fine, expensive is one thing, as long as the goods could still ship. But then this idiot told me to go back to the original freight company and force them to match the old price. After wasting 4 or 5 days arguing, the Houthis directly blew up a cargo ship with drones. Shipping routes got rerouted around the Cape of Good Hope. Suddenly, nobody had empty containers anymore. Meanwhile, sales director Wu, who was still overseas groveling to the European clients, called every single day demanding shipment updates. Delivery had already been delayed an entire week. If the delay continued, not only would the company lose 10% of the payment, we'd probably lose the client permanently. In the end, they had no choice but to switch to air freight. For goods worth 1 million yuan, The shipping alone burned through another 500,000. And during all this, Jang Chang still tried acting smart with Director Wu. Why don't we wait a little longer? The penalty fee is only 100,000 anyway. That's still cheaper than 500,000 in air freight costs. Director Wu exploded over the phone instantly. How the hell is this my fault? If you want to blame someone, blame the Houthis. All I heard was Director Wu cursing non-stop from the other end of the line. Honestly, it fit Jang Chang perfectly. The intern scandal? Zhang Jing's fault? The shipping crisis? The Houthis' fault. At this rate, next time he'd probably blame Earth's magnetic field. No matter what happened, it was never Jang Chang's fault. Eventually, the labor dispatch scandal finally reached a conclusion. The labor company owner and the vocational school principal were both arrested. The scandal exploded onto local trending news. Zhang Jing got removed from her position too. In the end, Jang Chang had no choice but to bring back the same old labor agency I used before. The European client completely cut off their orders, though luckily the disaster didn't spread further. That day, the product manager tried sneaking into my office again, but I stopped him immediately. The first time you came to me, Zhang Jing got taken down. The second time, old Li blew up. Now you're here again. Who knows which unlucky bastard gets struck next? He grinned darkly. Look on the bright side, at least we're still in the safe zone. Besides, I've got some huge gossip. You interested? The second I heard there was drama, my eyes lit up and I quickly invited him in. Remember that supplier I told you about? Of course. The one who bought Zhang Qiang a house. Exactly. Housing prices crashed hard these past few months. That 1 million yuan apartment dropped to 700,000. Jang Chang's place instantly became negative equity. He still owes the bank money, but the guy's pretty clever. He ran back to the supplier boss and demanded they buy the apartment back at the original 1 million yuan price. That way the 80,000 loan gets cleared, and he still pockets an extra 200,000 profit. I burst out laughing. What did the supplier boss say? What else could he say? He's not running a charity. The guy works an entire year and barely makes 500,000 himself. I genuinely couldn't stop laughing after hearing that. Alliances built entirely on money always collapse the second the money stops flowing. The product manager kept going. The supplier boss made his own demand too, raised the product price by 10%, and then maybe they can discuss taking the apartment back. So what did Jang Chang do? What could he do? He stalled for time. He's still counting on selling that apartment at the original price while surviving those monthly mortgage payments. Honestly, I would have loved to watch Jang Chang explain a sudden 10% price increase to the boss and see the expression on the boss's face, but none of it had anything to do with me anyway. I was just the company's logistics and admin guy now. After we finished gossiping, the product manager gave me a sly smile. So who do you think the next unlucky victim is? Can't you say something positive about this company for once? With the mess we're in now? Positive my ass, I'm already ready to grab my bucket and run anytime. It's not that bad. Zhang Jing only got fired. Old Li's still hanging on. Unless the boss actually decides to sacrifice Jang Chang too. We chatted until it was almost time to leave work, then headed out together. But deep down, I was sure of one thing. As the guy managing logistics and administration, there was no way the disaster would land on me. The next scapegoat would definitely be the product manager. With Jang Chang recklessly messing everything up like this, product quality disasters were only a matter of time. As we parted ways, I looked at the product manager's back with genuine sympathy. What I didn't expect was for reality to slap me in the face the very next morning. The moment I stepped into the office, the boss summoned me over and immediately started scolding me. He pointed at a disciplinary notice on his desk and demanded, "Xing Yuan, I know you're unhappy about being transferred, but that doesn't mean you can joke around with the company's operations." I glanced at the document. Fire safety equipment failed inspection. Fine. 50,000 yuan. Immediate production shutdown ordered pending corrections. The accusation hit me like a truck. The entire factory shutdown had somehow been dumped directly onto my head. The worst part was I had absolutely no idea what had gone wrong. Right then, Jang Chang pushed open the office door and walked in. "Boss, the new fire safety equipment will arrive this afternoon. I've already talked to people at the police station too. Tomorrow's inspection should pass smoothly. Once tomorrow's inspection passes, production can resume immediately." The boss nodded in satisfaction, then glared at me again. If Manager Jang hadn't stepped in to save the situation, could you even handle the consequences of shutting down production? That 50,000 yuan fine is coming straight out of the administration department's performance bonuses. You'd better personally thank him. Jang Chang flashed me a fake smile, his tone dripping with sarcasm. I understand Manager Xing Yuan has some emotional resentment. After all, people get sensitive when their money's involved, but hopefully from now on, we can be honest with each other, instead of letting personal grudges hurt the company. After saying that, he slammed the door and left, not even giving me a chance to explain. The boss also kicked me out with a dark expression and told me to reflect on my mistakes. I walked back to my office completely confused and immediately called Fei Fei in to ask what happened with the fire safety issue. The poor girl looked so wronged she nearly cried. We already submitted the renewal request for the fire safety supplier to purchasing, but Manager Jang refused to approve it and insisted that you personally explain the purpose before he'd sign off. Only then did everything click in my head. Over the past few months, every single thing administration tried to buy had to go through Jang Chang. If we ordered 2 boxes of printer paper, I had to explain why we used them so quickly. If we bought office signs, I had to write an 800-word explanation report. Back then, I'd been furious and told Fei Fei to dump all the approval responsibility onto Jang Chang. Whether he approved it or not was his problem. Turns out last month, she'd already submitted the fire safety contract, and Jang Chang had deliberately kept it sitting there untouched. I got so angry I yelled at Fei Fei, but she was just collateral damage caught between fighting gods. After that, I went to HR. Don't deduct the money from my team's bonuses. Take it from my salary instead. Split it over 10 months. 5,000 a month. The new HR manager was one of Jang Chang's lackeys. He smiled at me with fake sympathy all over his face, but I understood perfectly well. Anyone constantly hanging around Jang Chang had definitely heard the $500 million yuan rumors about me plenty of times. Still, compared to Zhang Jing, who got completely fired, I at least managed to keep my job. Later, I sat alone in the restroom replaying everything in my head. Jang Chang used to manage administration himself. He knew every detail about the fire safety system, and the supplier was someone he personally promoted years ago. That bastard definitely colluded with the supplier to set me up. Meanwhile, Director Wu was probably losing his mind too. Deliveries had already been a complete disaster lately, and now production had been forcibly shut down. Chances were another massive contract penalty was about to hit. At the same time, clients kept sending formal emails demanding compensation for delayed shipments. Luckily, Director Wu had strong personal relationships with the customers. He exhausted himself trying to suppress the issue down to just a verbal warning, but at this rate, even Director Wu's reputation would eventually collapse. Right then, the product manager sneaked over with a sly look. Xin Yuan, relax. The boss was just trying to scare you a little. This matter's basically over. At this pace, the next person carrying the giant blame bomb will definitely be Director Wu. I felt speechless inside. Honestly, I was starting to suspect the guy had secretly been bribed by Jang Chang. But what truly surprised me was this. Over the next few months, everything became strangely peaceful. So peaceful, it completely shattered my understanding of how things were supposed to work.